Hey guys, what is going on? Chris here with Shughead Gaming, bringing you my review for Stardust Odyssey, developed by Aghart Studio. Stardust Odyssey releases this November 3rd, 2019, exclusively for PSVR. This is selling for an estimated price of $25, but of course that depends on your region. As usual, this game was reviewed on the PS4 Pro. Jump aboard your ethercraft and explore ancient convoys of wealthy nomad merchants that have been sailing the skies for generations. Upgrade your ship and wander the forgotten lands to search for the mysterious hidden relics and powerful runes as you fight to stay alive in this co-op shooter. Stardust Odyssey piqued my interest months ago, even though I had no idea what it was. Now I've played it, and what do I think? Let's find out. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It not only helps the channel, but helps to promote VR gaming as a whole. And of course, if you'd like to see more PSVR content from me, please consider subscribing. And for video updates, hit that bell icon. Let's kick things off with a look at graphics. For me, Stardust Odyssey was a bit of a grower. Jumping into some gameplay, I was definitely impressed by how polished and sharp the visuals were, with a draw distance that seemed to be endless. This looks great on the standard PS4, but is Pro enhanced, running at 90 frames per second as compared to the standard PS4's 60 frames per second, in addition to additional super sampling for improved anti-aliasing. The ultra colorful art design popped and the game as a whole looked nice, but still, I was feeling a little underwhelmed with the whole visual package. Perhaps it was because I was coming off the graphical prowess of Gollum, or maybe it was the graphical deja vu I was having with PSVR's other airship game, Bout of Blood. However, over the course of the first few hours of gameplay, my opinion began to shift as I took note of all the little things Stardust Odyssey was doing visually and found myself loving living in this game space. Your ethercraft itself, being your central play area, begins to feel like a living character all its own. Watch as the ship reacts to every movement, not only flexing and compressing, but animating every gear and mechanism around you. Looking right in front of you, UI displays are thoughtful, functional, and very clean, working extremely well in a VR environment, and allowing you to multitask with ease while also seeing what your co-pilot is up to. Looking beyond and into the game world itself, I really began to appreciate the size and heft of these sometimes giant airships and the sheer real estate they could encompass, which was really felt in VR. This, when combined with the insane amount of effects-heavy action flying all around me, and Stardust Odyssey really started to work for me visually. On the negative side of things, I was disappointed to find out Stardust Odyssey was essentially an arcade corridor shooter, and one where levels themselves hold very little visual variety beyond changing up the color palette. Still disappointing? Yes, as I would have loved to see this game blown wide open like in Bout of Blood. That being said, this more focused game design allowed for a greater sense of speed and movement as I barreled down the trade route path. In addition, this more conservative use of graphical resources also allowed for a more intense and at times crazy amount of on-screen action, allowing Stardust Odyssey to really embrace its more arcade shooter roots. Sound is up next.
Thank you for your gullibility.
Like its visuals, Stardust Odyssey's sound design is tasteful, thoughtful, and polished. Everything here just feels right and serves the game perfectly with every component in place and knowing its place. Voice work is spot on, bringing to the table the type of overacted cartoon-style delivery you would expect, but never annoying. Yes, we get the typical evil bad guy spouting off generic end-of-the-world claims, but it's really well done fluff exposition, and skippable if you don't care. The remaining voice work comes from your companion Overseer, as he basically has a running commentary keeping you aware of key moments and helpful hints. Again, this is well done, and shockingly, not actually very intrusive to the experience as a whole. Combat sounds expectedly take center stage here, so thankfully they are again very well done, and with enough variety to not only keep things from getting repetitive, but also giving different weapons their own flavor. Especially helpful when in co-op and keeping apprised of what your partner's doing next to you while you're multitasking to stay alive. Rounding things out is the musical score, sitting back in the mix and adding a sci-fi atmosphere with its often nuanced electronic score. The music could be a little more varied, but as it stands, it works just fine to wrap up this very nicely produced audio mix. And that brings us to gameplay. My gameplay journey with Stardust Odyssey can be broken down into 3 key moments. When first jumping in, I was admittedly a little underwhelmed, as I quickly realized this was not going to be a fully realized ship battle game in the same category as Bout of Blood or Battlewing. Instead, what I felt I was playing was essentially a very polished arcade corridor shooter that I would play for an hour for my review and then move on. However, within that first hour, Stardust Odyssey got its hooks in me as I quickly realized that yes, this was an arcade corridor shooter, but one with a lot of depth and strategy. Things start off simple as you pilot your ship with a single move controller, acting like a floating flight stick, and not only handling your basic movements, but also forward velocity. You quickly get 2 spells, one to attack and one to shield. Each has only so many uses and can recharge over time using up a specific magic color of either yellow or blue, with green being allocated to your ship's health. Shoot some ships, collect treasures, and acquire ethers. You fly through gates called lighthouses as save points, and yeah, Stardust is a casual little shooter. Like I said, things start off simple, but very quickly I began to get my ass kicked as enemies started to not only come in numbers, but using decoys, explosives, and Death Star-like lasers and shields, among many other things. This ass kicking really required me to start thinking about resource management and evasive maneuvers as I began madly backpedaling and circling around giant freighters, desperately trying to give my magic time to recharge. This increase in difficulty and strategy got its hooks in me, and as such the game loop became very apparent. Back to home base I went to use my hard-earned treasure to purchase such things as new inventory slots and buffs, as well as spells and runes. Spells, of which there are 10, are all offensive and defensive weapons and range from simple aim and shoot mechanics to drones and gravity-sucking bombs. You start off having 2 spell slots, but as you upgrade, you can get up to 6, greatly adding to your tickle trunk of toys. Runes, on the other hand, of which there are 21, are used to add unique and powerful modifiers. You start off with 1 slot, but additional slots can also be purchased for these and can be a game changer. As the game continued to get more challenging and boss fights became a thing, my desire to upgrade became an obsession and a lot of fun. However, it wasn't until I brought in a friend as my co-pilot that Stardust Odyssey fully revealed itself. Either by inviting a friend or joining a random game, the co-pilot brings their own tickle trunk of toys to not only use, but share as well. In co-op, you pull your spells, runes, and slot upgrades, but collect your own loot and buy your own items from the store. Of course, all this progress can be brought back to your solo game, so as the second player, you aren't just helping out, you're also gaining progression and gear. However, in a wise move, co-op does not affect the co-op partner's own mission progress back in their solo game. With a friend, Stardust Odyssey doesn't really get much easier as the game scales up, but it does open up a whole new level of strategy as the two of you have your own spell magic of the yellow and blue variety, but share the green. This becomes a thing when you realize that some of the higher end weapon spells in fact now take from your green reserve, consequently affecting your ship's ability to regenerate its health. This creates an incredible partnership in which you are constantly strategizing, delegating, and working together. In fact, this may be my favorite co-op game to date simply because your partnership becomes so necessary so quickly. Additionally, there's something just incredibly unique and special about sharing a small cockpit space with a buddy that really amps up the immersion factor here. Stardust Odyssey spans 14 levels and can easily take 6 to 7 hours to complete the campaign. However, I think Stardust Odyssey will have some legs on the replay side of things. Not only does it beg for experimentation of loadouts, but progress also unlocks certain upgrades that require you to repeat levels for 100% completion. Stardust Odyssey is played using 2 move controllers and is played seated with a moderate amount of room recommended for your flailing arms. Motion sickness shouldn't be a huge issue here as you never actually turn, but the game does move quickly with rapid direction changes. There are no comfort settings, but for those who are sensitive to VR sickness, know that the Pro enhancement bumping up the frame rate by 25% could really help with this. And finally, that brings us to fun factor and my final review. Just like this time last year, we are getting some nice surprises to close out the year with. Stardust Odyssey always looked like a game that might be decent, but I was legitimately surprised at how much fun I had. In fact, when playing with my co-pilot, I know I kept repeating how awesome this was when ripping around in co-op. Though I should emphasize, this is still a very solid single-player experience for those who prefer to fly alone. As you know, I hate number ratings and instead rate games on the basis of buy, wait for sale, or burn it to the ground. If you like your shooters, this is a no-brainer and a total recommended buy from me. Yes, on the surface, this still really is just an arcade corridor shooter, but it's a damn good one, with a lot of polish and a lot of depth, and one of the best multiplayer experiences on the PSVR. Anyways guys, that's it for me. Special thanks to Jason Levon of the PSVR Chat Show and the Handyman Can VR for being my trusty co-pilot. Jason's PSVR content can be found on YouTube, and if you want to check that out, the links are provided right in front of you. I'll catch you guys on my next video.